4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another throwback video. I'm trying to get back into these throwbacks a little bit more. Not as many of the videos made about new films, and not just ones which have been forgotten, which is why for this one, which as of this year, it has somehow already been 30 years since its release, I decided to revisit the 1995 film Hackers, starring Johnny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, and Matthew Lillard. Also Fisher Stevens and many more show up in this. Now, revisiting this one came my way as I was checking out some episodes of the Joe Lynch and Adam Green podcast, The Movie Crypt, as they had Matthew Lillard on as a guest. Now, I'd just seen his work recently as I was revisiting Twin Peaks: A Return, as I was revisiting all of Twin Peaks after the unfortunate loss of David Lynch. No relation to Joe Lynch. Hackers came up and I realized I hadn't seen this film in well over a decade. So remembering it was a very vibrant and stylish film, and seeing that I had an Amazon gift card, I scooped it up on this 4K Blu-ray. But what is this film about? For those who haven't seen it, or it's been so long you don't really remember, well, the synopsis is as follows. Teenage hackers discover a criminal conspiracy with plans to use a computer virus that will capsize 5 oil tankers. So we have our lead, Dade, played by Miller, as a hacker who got into some trouble as a youngster and was prosecuted for hacking. He was not allowed to use a computer until his 18th birthday, not even a touch-tone phone. He has recently moved to New York with his mother, and on his 18th birthday, he begins poking around again, dialing into systems, seeing what he can hack yet again. Upon being enrolled in his new school, he quickly falls in with a crowd with the same interest in computers and hacking, and hijinks ensue. Now, surprisingly, things are a bit complicated here, as the film jumps around a bit regarding his getting in with the new crowd, having a hacking competition with Jolie's character, and one of them, who's kind of like the younger one in the group, trying to prove themselves, stumbling across this virus once he hacked into a corporate system. This is a kind of complicated plan by our antagonist to plant a virus, blame it on hackers. This group our lead is now within, and use a virus as a way to extort money from the corporation he works within. So I guess the idea, really, to break it down, was to plant a virus, demand ransom, blame it on these hackers that they saw coming into the system, swoop in to save the day, and keeping the money for themselves in an offshore account. Now, it may not really sound too complicated, I guess it really isn't. It's just that the switching of focus from our lead to the group, to their contest, to this younger one proving themselves to this group, and, coming across it, this blame, Secret Service getting involved, and so on. It is a bit all over the place, but it's still a fun one overall. However, the hacking is, well, pretty much nothing about this is realistic, both in the visuals behind the hacking as well as the actual technobabble that they yammer on about. Even back in the day, if you had a computer at all in 1995, you likely knew that they were often speaking gibberish, and that this graphical representation especially was complete nonsense. But in 1995, films like these were getting pretty hot. We also had films like The Net, Johnny Mnemonic, Lawnmower Man 2, even Tank Girl, which had a similar style over substance going on. They were all coming to the screens with varying levels of success. Even the year before, we had Disclosure, which had a heavy lean into tech and the snazzy VR scene that they had to work, into it to go along with the, corporate-centered story. But yeah, so computers were slowly becoming affordable. The internet was kind of ramping up in popularity and access, and there was a lot of interest, but not much actual experience and knowledge. So audience would gobble it up, while those who actually had access knew it was Hollywood nonsense at worst, but something to turn off your brain for to enjoy at best. Just ignore the nonsense and enjoy the story and all those cool visuals. But one interesting thing was a friend of mine from back in the day who had actually been into computers and hacking, and I believe she now actually works in info security, really enjoyed this one because from her point of view, though all this crazy graphical explosions on the screen were nonsense, she explained that visuals like that are what she and other friends of hers were kind of imagining as they were poking around. For example, this Cookie Monster virus is not putting a literal graphic of a Cookie Monster all over your screen. But from her side, that's just what she's kind of imagining happening, even though in reality it's just some text going by trying to fill up some memory. Even for this video, I just changed up this look to kind of go with the theme of the film, put a lot more style over the substance of this. But now this film, of course, although it's enjoyable, it's not perfect. Setting up our lead, his new group of fellow hackers, trying to put enough info out there for novices to understand, getting to know the antagonist, his partners and what they're planning, and so on. It jumps around a bit. Actually quite a lot. One minute you feel like you're watching a story about Miller getting to know this other group and having a hacking competition with Jolie's character, and then the next there are Secret Service overreacting with guns drawn, pulling a hacker out of the shower and launching us into what feels like a very different plot line. Not to mention, one other thing that kind of stuck out on this rewatch was Miller's early and not too successful attempt at to try to cover up his UK accent. It was kind of a strange, I guess you can call it a vowel movement, pun definitely intended, and the fact that except for one of the group, most of the actors were of course well into their 20s, including Lillard, who I think was about 25 at the time. But looking past all that and sticking with it, it's a style that really hits well. A loud color palette, crazy props, and visuals to go along with it when it comes to the hacking scenes, and especially this very pounding soundtrack, both in the electronic dance style inspired songs that were chosen for the film, as well as the score that was composed for this one. And most of these montages within it kind of played like a 90s music video that you would see, high up on a projection screen at a nightclub. Completely unrealistic, technobabble which often makes no sense, but within all of that we have a film which is still interesting. It's an explosion of both audio and the visuals, making for a really fun film, which after 30 years I was surprised was still a lot of fun and definitely worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest video here for Hackers from 1995, which at the time of this video is available pretty much everywhere. I mean, it's on Fubo, MGM+, Hoopla, Tubi, Philo, Pluto TV, and of course paid rental. But anyways, that's all I've got for this one, my little revisit here of Hackers from 1995. If you enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up. And, as that and sticking around to the end really does help out quite a bit. If you are not already subscribed, consider subscribing, checking out some links which will be coming up sometime soon in just a few moments here. And I will see you in the next one.